Hello friends, thank you for watching this video. I am Mohamad and today we're going to be continuing our journey in building our Saha API. This is episode 7 of the series. Today we're going to be adding AutoMapper. We're going to be basically adding a default return type for a single object and a list. As well, we're going to be creating some new tables. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. It will really help the channel. So now let's jump into it. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be updating our Jira board. We're going to be adding our cards, and then we're going to be doing some tidy up, and then we're going to start coding. So let's get started. So let's see, create .NET Core API. So that's done. Let's move this to done. Create initial structure of the database. That's also done. This is not yet. We're going to be adding the AutoMapper today. This is not yet. We added the refresh token, so let's put this here. Design our health record. This we might be able to do today. Create a health record. This is also might be able to do today. Update functionality. We already did this. And upgrade the application to .NET 6. We already did this. Okay, perfect. So we already have here the AutoMapper. So let's see what's inside. Add the AutoMapper to avoid. Okay. Straightforward. Okay. One other item we want to add is basically we want to add create a unify return for all endpoints. So let's click on this, and if we click on attach, no, nothing. So let's add an epic, and I think this one will be under project maintenance. Okay, great. So what's the description for this? Okay, create two classes. To cater for all the return possibilities from the API. The first class should be named result, which should be responsible, which should be used for every single return in the API. So instead of putting the first class, let's make it like this: result class. Okay, and the second one will be let's see if we can make it nicer. Okay, and the second one will be paged result class, which should be used for every list return the API. Okay. I think that's oh, we need to add one more point. Both classes should be generic, and yeah, I think that should be fine. Generic. Okay, great. Let's save this, and let's move this from the to-do to in progress, because this is the first item that we're going to be starting with. So let's go to our Visual Studio Code. And basically, this is where we left off last time when we upgraded our application to .NET 6. Let us just do .NET build to make sure everything is running. We have a lot of errors. Let's see what's the errors. Okay, let's see .NET clean. Okay. The application is building. This should take a few seconds to be completed. Okay. Okay, the application is running as it should be. Okay, let's stop it and then building it again. See what might have been causing that issue. It could be like temporary error. Yeah, it's working. We can see the application is building successfully. Okay, perfect. So what we're going to be doing is inside our entities folder, inside our DTOs, we're going to create a new folder here, and we're going to call it generic. And inside the generic folder, we're going to be creating a new class, and the first class is going to be called result. And basically we said this result class needs to be a generic class, so we have to make it of type T. And then basically we're gonna put public or +2 prop. It's gonna be of type T, and here we're gonna call it content. So this is gonna be for a single item. And then we're gonna put public error. Basically this is going to be the error class in case we're going to return it. We're going to call it error. Get set. We're going to put prop boolean is success. That way it will be easier for us to know if the application that we are actually the return it has been successful or not, if it has completed successfully or not. So once we are processing from the client side, first we can check this boolean variable. If it's successful, we can directly go fetch the content. If not, we can go to the error. So it makes it easier for the client side to process any response that the API is returning. So instead of having it like this, what we're going to be doing is it's going to be based on the error. So if error is equal to null, it's going to automatically fill itself by true or false. So if it's equal to null, it's going to be true. If not, it's going to be false. And lastly, we're going to just return the response date time. So prop, and this is going to be date time. And we're going to call it response time. And get and set. And basically, this is going to be equal to date time UTC. Date time dot UTC now. Okay, let's fix these references. Using system, that should be fine. Okay, great. So now what we're going to be doing is we need to add the error class so we're able to build this project basically. So let's do this right now. So inside our DTOs folder, we're going to be creating a new folder called error, and inside that error folder we're gonna put the new class errors. So the idea behind this is as an initial step, we're gonna be creating an error class which is gonna be catering for all, but once we have a more advanced functionality, we're gonna be adding more detailed error which is gonna be inheriting from this error class. So as a first step, let's create one generic error class, and as we go on, we're gonna be adding more detailed errors classes, and basically we're gonna utilize them in every endpoint that we need. So right now inside our DTOs, let's create a new folder and we'll call it errors. And inside this errors class, we're going to create a new class and we're going to call it error. And basically it's going to have three parameters. So the first one, property, is going to be of type int and it's going to be code. The second one, it's going to be of type string, and it's going to be the type. And lastly, we're going to put property of type string, and it's going to be the message, basically the error message that we want to send. So let's save this, and let's go back to result, and let's fix this references. and we can see here that it should be working. Okay, perfect. Now that we have added the result, the second item is if we go back to our Jira board, if we open this, so we already added the result here, so we need now to add the page result. So similar in the generic folder, we're going to be get a new class, and we're going to be calling this paged result. Perfect. As well, similar to what we have done with the results, we need to make it generic. And basically here, what we're going to be adding, so this one is going to basically inherit the results. And basically, it's going to be of list T. So why are we doing it like this? So instead of rewriting the code here, of having similar items as in the results, so content, error, is successful, so on and so forth, what we can do is we're just inheriting this into the page result. We're making that it will automatically work inside a list, because we're returning here a list of items inside the response. And we're going to be adding additional functionality, so this actual class will be able to handle pagination if needed in the future. So it's always good to build these as we go. So how are we going to be doing this? We're going to be adding a couple of properties, and this should be able to help us build our page result. So the first thing we're going to be adding is int, which is going to be the page. So how many pages and which page are we on right now? And then basically we're going to put the result count. So we'll be able to do the calculation on how many pagination page do we need. So it's also going to be integer, and it's going to be result count. And lastly, prop int, and this is going to be the results per page. So we need to say, for example, within this result, I want, for example, let's say I want to get all of my employees, and I have, let's say, 5,000 employees. I don't want to return 5,000 employees in a single call. What I want to do is, for example, I want to create the ability to do a pagination on these employees. So instead of having those 5,000, I can, for example, choose 25, and based on that, I can get those results. So, for example, I can specify in the first call, I want a 25, and the second one I get different 25, so on and so forth. And I can do this logic from the API side as well from the client side. Okay, great. But for now, we're not going to implement pure pagination, but it's always good to have it when we are starting. So let's save this, and let us build the application to make sure that everything is building as it should. Okay, perfect. Now let us update our API with these. So let's go back to our controllers, and inside the profile controller, let's start there. So we can see here that we're returning a bad request, and we're returning this basically user not found string. Let us update this with the latest results. So let's see here. So var result equal new result. Not okay, result. Let's add the reference. And basically now we need to fill it. So result dot error equal the new error class. And let's fix this reference. And from here, what we can do is let us do it like this. And we can add all of the information. So the error code, it's gonna be, for example, right now we can put it as, because a bad request, I think a bad request returns with a 400. Yeah, let's put a 400 because it's a bad request. And the message, we're gonna put the same message as we put here, user not found. And what do we have? Type. We can just say type, I think it was an integer, string. So we can put bad request. So I think once we have done this, why is this? Oh, okay. So here result is asking us to actually, we need to provide. So this is one item that we need to do because it's a generic type. So we need to specify the type of return. And because here we are actually returning the profile, we need to make it sure that it's part of type user because that's what is expecting. So we put here user. And let's this. So right now basically we are specifying what type of result it should have, and because it's generic we need to actually specify it here. So let us fill this entirely, and then we'll go back and actually explain how it works. So let's see any other item that we need to fill inside the result. So content is going to be null, the error we're going to make it, response time is going to equal to, it's going to be automatically filled. So basically this is the only thing that we need to fill, and we're going to return here, instead of a bad empty string, we're going to be returning the result. So let's take this, copy this, and let us put this here, and instead of having this like this, we're going to just have the same, because it's the same response. And lastly here, what we're going to be doing is we're going to update this in order for us to, instead of returning an error, we're going to be returning the actual profile. So let's delete this. We don't really need a result. We don't really need this. And we're going to be doing here is going to put result.content. It's going to be equal to the profile, because that's what we're going to be returning. And we're going to put, that's the only thing we want to put, or yeah, that's the only thing we want to put. And let's put here, okay, we're going to put the result. Okay, so here it's complaining because we have different results. So that's one thing we can do is we can actually put this here, so make it more of a generic response instead of actually identifying it every single time. And we can delete it from here, and we can delete it from here. So that way we are reusing the same object. And let's save this, okay, I think this should be fine. Anything else? Okay, there's still more refactoring that we can do here. Basically we can strip down the ability to add those errors into a single function and actually just calling this function, which is something we'll consider after we make sure that this is working as it should be. So let's try this out. So let's save this, let's put .NET run. It's requesting the password, so let's do this. Let's make it always. Okay, perfect. So now let us go back to Insomnia. So now that Insomnia is open, let's open it up. Let's go create a new request collection. We're gonna call it Saha Notebook. And basically we're just gonna create this, and we're gonna be creating a new request. And basically this request, let's see the actual source code, and we're gonna be making the call for the profile. So first, before we do that, we need to actually let the user log in, and let's see all of the users. Because I have resetted my machine, I have lost my previous list of API calls, so we need to rebuild them. That should be fine. So let's go back here, and first let us get all of the user lists, not add user. So this is get user, get users. Yeah, this is it. So let's see it first. It works on this. So let's take this one, and we said here get all users. Okay, perfect. And this is a get create. Oh, let's do a new folder, and we'll call this users. And let's put this inside this folder. Okay, so we're gonna be calling this endpoint, and let's see the list. So this is gonna be API. API is gonna be v1. So v1 is gonna be API / v1 / the name of the controller, which is gonna be users. And right now, if I click on send, we should be able to get all of the users. And it gives me an SSL. Okay. Disable SSL validation. Okay. Where do we disable the SSL validation? Okay, I think it should work. Let's try it again. Data, themes, count, plugins, nope. Okay, validate certificates. Let's remove this, and I think that should be fine. And let's send this request, and we got a 401 unauthorized. Okay, I think we need to rerun the application, so let's run it again. And now if I do this, perfect, now I got the full list of the users that I have. So let us get goofy. I can't remember the password that we put, but let's try. So let's create a new request collection, new folder, and we'll call it account, because it's going to be either, let's register a new account. I think that would be easier. So new request, and we'll put register, and this is going to be a post, and the body is going to be JSON. Okay, and let's create this. Let's take the same endpoint, we're going to update it a bit. Let's revert back these changes, so let's stop the application. Let's revert these back, because we're going to be creating a new user either way. So inside the account, so it's going to be here instead of users, accounts. And it's going to be /register. And the body is going to be a user registration request DTO. So let's go to this. It's going to take first name, last name, email, and password. So let's fill this body. So first name. What do we want to create? This new user. Let's call it. We need something very interesting name. Let's use. Usually naming stuff is the hardest thing. So if we're gonna create a new user, let's name it as. Let's name it as Lewis Hamilton. Okay, and last name. We need to make it Hamilton. Okay. What else do we need? An email address and a password. So the email will be Lewis at mercedes.com, I think. And the password, we're just gonna make it a simple password for now. Okay, so let's send this, and if everything goes to plan, we should be able to 403 forbidden. Why? So let's see the accounts. Okay, it's a post for the register. API v1. Okay. Oh, let's run this again. I forgot to run the application again. Now let's try to register again. We also got a 403. 5000. Okay, API /v1 accounts register. Yeah, that should be fine. Accounts /register. Send. Okay, let's see if this still works. This should give us a 403. Yeah, that should be fine. Okay, let's see what's going on. Okay, everything seems fine here. Okay, this seems to be fine. Post, okay. Let us try one thing and utilize HTTPS, just out of curiosity. And it worked. So basically right now we got a JWT token and we got a refresh token, and it was successful. Perfect. So now that we have those, let us actually what is this new control called profile. So let's create a new request collection and we'll call it profile. And inside this node, let's delete this, we don't want this, so delete. So we're gonna have a new folder and we're gonna call it profile. And basically within this profile, what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna create a new request, and this request is gonna be called get user profile. Get profile, create. So basically we're gonna take the same path. Let's paste this here, and instead of accounts register, it's gonna be basically profile. That's it. Okay, and what we're gonna be doing is inside our headers, we're gonna be adding the authorization header, and we're gonna be passing the bearer token. And let's take this. Perfect, copy. Yeah, it should be everything. And let us paste this here. And right now, if I send this, we should get the user profile. Perfect, we can see here that we got Lewis, we got everything, all of the information that we need for this user. As well, we have got here that error is null, successful is true, and we got the response time of the server in UTC, exactly what we wanted. So we can see here that it's already taken the correct implementation. So let us change one thing, and let us, for example, change anything inside this JWT token. So instead of a Q at the end, we're gonna put an A, and let's send this. We got an unauthorized, perfect, and let's put it back as a Q and send. Okay, perfect. So let us, just for testing right now, let us actually take this, and I want to see if there's this response. So let's comment these out, and let's put these here, and let's stop the application, and let's see what's going to happen right now. So right now we should basically receive that is successful is false by default, and we should see this one inside the error. So if we go back to Insomnia and let us send this request again, we can see the content is null, which is correct. The error is 400, bad request, user is not found, the message, and we see is successful is false with the response time of the server. Okay, perfect. So let us put everything back as it was. So now we made sure that everything here is working. So let us also add, since we're adding here stuff, let us add a new request, and we're gonna just make the login. So to make it easier for us to generate JWT token as we go. So this is gonna be a JSON. Let's put create, and it's gonna be basically similar to this. Copy this, we'll put it here, and basically instead of register, it's gonna be login, and it's gonna take a JSON body. So let's see what does it take for us to log in. So if we go to accounts, and if we scroll a bit down, here, so if we go to user login request DTO, if we go to the definition, it takes email and password. Simple as that. So email, and it's gonna be the password. Oops. And then we're gonna take the same email, lewis@mercedes.com, and the password is gonna be this complicated password. So let's copy this, and let's paste this here, and now let us send this request, and if all goes to plan, we should be able to receive a JWT token. Okay, perfect. So now let's go back here and let's continue updating our profile controller. So we have already added this to the get profile. Now we need to add the same thing for the update profile. So similar to what we have done before, we're gonna just take the results, and basically here for the update profile, we're just gonna be returning a message, but the actual implementation is once we update it, we need to return the same object back to the users. So let us do this right now. So let us add this here as a result for the user, and basically we're gonna be returning a user. Okay, great. So the first thing first, we're gonna be implementing the same thing as this one. So let's copy this, it will make it easier for us. And let us put it here. We're gonna delete this. We're gonna just copy the body of the error. And let's remove this. And here basically instead of user not found, it's gonna say invalid body. Okay, invalid payload. Perfect. So that's the first thing. Let's copy this again. Let's put this here. Let's remove this. It's gonna be user not found. So let's copy this message. Let's remove this one and let's update it here. And similarly, we're gonna be doing it to the user profile. User not found. And lastly, if everything goes to plan, after we update, we're gonna be returning an OK. So, okay, let's do this before, because this is a default one. Something went wrong. So this one, because it's not a validation issue, this is gonna be a 500. And we're gonna take this. We're gonna put it here. Unable to process request. And let's return this. And basically right now, the last thing we need to do is we need to actually add this. So it's gonna be result dot content, which is gonna be equal to user profile. And then we're gonna be return this result here. Simple as that. So let us stop our application. .NET run. Perfect. Now let's go back to Insomnia and let us get the profile. See everything is still working. 401 unauthorized. Let's log in again. Let us take a refreshed, the JWT token. Let's copy this. Get profile. Let's update the header. Okay, perfect. So let's send this. Okay, actually, yeah, let's send this. We got the profile. Now let's do the update. So new request. I'm gonna say update profile. It's gonna be a post, and let's do create. So let's take the same endpoint and let's put it here. And basically we now need to get the body. So inside update profile, let's go here and let's go to definition, and we can see we have country, address, mobile, and sex. So we need to fill this inside the body, and we said the body is going to be of type JSON. Okay, so the first thing was country, and for Sir Lewis it's going to be UK. Address, gonna say London. Mobile number, it's gonna be let's put it 078787878. That's a very cool number. And we'll put the sex as male. Okay, now let's take the header. So let's copy this. It will be easier to copy it all. And let's paste it here. So this is going to be authorization, and we're going to paste the application header here, and let us send this request. And we got 405 not allowed. Why? Let us see what was the profile called. Oh, so it was a put. Apologies, it wasn't a post. So let's do a put, and let's send this again. And we got a 200. We got the content as it should be. We got the error, and we got the response time, and we got a successful. Perfect. So now let us just remove, for example, the mobile number, and let us send this. Now we should send invalid body. We already got this, so it maybe took it as Okay, so let's try, instead of sending this as a string, let us send this as an integer. Let's see if this will work. No, this should send us invalid body. Yes, so we got an error here. We got a bad request, one or more error validation. The profile is required. Field is required, okay. So we got an error before even reaching to this one. Interesting. Okay, so that means we need to add a generic error to catch it. So let us add this to the Jira board. Add a generic error handler to verify an incoming request. We can make this maybe a middleware, maybe. Okay. This is something for the future to think about, but let's go back to our source code. And now I think this should be fine. Let us add one more method, which is going to be inside the base controller, and we're going to make it public, or let's make it internal, and it's going to return an error class, and it's going to say populate error. And basically, let's fix this. And the thing here is we're gonna be returning error, and okay. So basically right now we need to return everything here. So the code, which is gonna be an integer. So here we're gonna put int code. We'll put this code here, and then we're gonna have the message, and this is gonna be a string message, and I think lastly it's gonna be the type, which is gonna be of type string as well. So type, and we're gonna put this as a string type. Okay, perfect. So now we have this. Let us try to implement it inside our profile. So instead of having this here, what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna make it as, let's say, what did we call it? Populate error inside our base controller. So inside the profile, it's gonna be populate error, and basically we're gonna put 500. The message, and unable to process request. Okay, these we're gonna make it a bit more generic as well. We're gonna be utilizing more abstraction, well, not abstraction, but reusable of the same tags. So instead of having those tags hard-coded here, we'll put them inside a class, and we can actually refer to them. Because these, like something went wrong, please try again later, and unable to process requests are gonna be utilized again and again, different controllers as well. We need to think maybe in the future we want to implement some kind of translation. So instead of hard coding them directly inside the application right now, what we can do is we can put them inside a unique class, and that class maybe we can actually utilize them as reference to where we can post actually get these tags from, and then maybe later on we can actually translate that class. But that's for the future. For now, let us just add those to a specific generic class that we can actually refer to for all of the errors. So in order for us to do that, before we continue further, let us see where did we put the main config? I think it should be inside the authentication. Nope, it's not generic. Oh, it should be here, JWT config. Okay, that's for the authentication. Data service. I'm not sure we even created one. Let's see if we created one. Main config. We don't have a main config. Okay, so let's create one right here. So inside our Should we create a new class library so it will hold all of the main configuration? Yeah, why not? So let's stop this, cd, and let's create the .NET new class lib, and we're gonna call it صحة notebook dot configuration. Okay, so now what we need to do, we need to add reference to the API to the configuration. So .NET add, we're gonna put صحة notebook.api, صحة notebook API. We're gonna put reference to صحة notebook.configuration. Okay, and this should work. Okay, now if we go to the صحة notebook API here, CS proj, we should see the new configuration one. Perfect. Now if we open the configuration and we have a class 1, we don't really want class 1, so by class 1, so delete. Okay, and the first thing we're gonna be adding is, let's add a new folder, and this folder we'll call it, let's call it messages, or not messages, we're gonna call it something related to text. So it should be like folder for text, which could be the hardest thing is always naming. So we'll call this folder as input, no, messages. And inside this messages, we're gonna create a new class, we'll call it error. Okay, and basically here we're gonna make this static, public static class. And what we're gonna be doing, let's separate them into another type of classes. So we put errors.profile, so it's gonna be again public static class, and this is gonna refer to the profile. Or first we're gonna make it generic, and basically we're gonna put prop string public static string, and this is gonna be, what was the error here? We're trying something went wrong, so we'll first put it something went wrong. Something went wrong, yeah, and this should be equal to a string. And basically we're gonna take this message and we'll put it here. And right now, if I want to refer to this, we can put, I think it was called errors dot, let's fix those reference. We can make it error messages. It's better than errors. Error messages. Let's fix the class name. So here it's going to be error messages. So let's fix those reference. Okay, let's add it manually. So it's going to be using صحة notebook dot configuration dot messages. So now this should be working fine. And it was generic and something went wrong. Okay, why is this still not happy? If we do a build, will it take it? So cd صحة notebook.api .NET build. Oh, we didn't save this. Okay, let's save this. Let's try this again. Okay, now it seems to be working. Let's take this message as well, unable to process request. So let's go back to the error messages and create a new one. We'll call it public static string unable to process, and we just paste this here, and it's going to be something like this: error message dot generic dot unable to process. Okay, and it makes, let's see if we can make it like this, make it easier to read. And should we add the status code there? Let's leave this as is for now. We'll come back to it. Maybe later on we can create an enum for this. Okay. Let's go back to our web browser so we can just keep track here of what we did. So create a generic error message class which will contain all of the error messages. Okay, so let's hit on this one here and basically create a static class which contain other static class. This class will be responsible for handling error messages. Just note, think about translations. So we just can keep it in mind. Okay, let's add it to an epic, and basically this is also gonna fall into project maintenance. Okay, perfect. So now let's go back to our Visual Studio code and let us update the rest. So here we don't have anything, we're returning the right results. Okay, so here let us update this one. So instead of having it like this, let us make it result. Okay, let's paste this and we'll update it. So this is gonna be 400. And now because these are a specific message here, user not found to the profile, we can actually directly add it. So let's go back to our error message and create another public class. So public static class profile and public static string, and here what we can do is we can call it user not found. Okay, and let's take the same message, user not found. Very creative. Okay, copy. Where is the error messages? It should be here. Okay, what was the other one? It should be bad request, or we can say yeah, let's keep it as a generic here because we don't really want the, if someone is trying to misuse our API and try to basically malicious user who trying to figure out more information, we don't really want to give them a lot of data. Basically, we don't want to give them any data, but we also want to make it developer friendly. So that's why maybe bad requests should be fine for now. We can think about this more later on. So let us just take here and we can put public static string. What was it? Okay, user not found type, or just with bad request type. So we can, instead of this one here, we can just add it to the generic one so we can reuse it. So we can put public static string bad request type, or we can start with type, so it will make it easier to find this. So type bad request equal bad request, and this is by no mean like set rules. This is we're just like figuring it out as we go. Request bad request, we forgot the S here. Okay, so let us update this. So we set 400 generic. So instead of user not found, it's gonna be dot profile dot user not found, and generic we're gonna be type bad request. Okay, we don't really need this, so bye. And okay, and this should be fine. Let's take this one, it will be similar to the one here. Okay, anything else here we need to add? Invalid payload. Okay, so this is also back to the generic one. So we're just gonna update this one to user from user not found to invalid payload. So this is again, we're gonna put public static string, and we're gonna put invalid payload, and the message is gonna be simple invalid payload. Okay, so let's go back here and let's change this. So it's gonna be generic, and this is gonna be invalid payload. Okay, perfect. So this seems fine. Okay, we still have this one, which is user not found. Okay, so I think we're almost there for this controller. So let's copy this. Let's paste this here. User not found, bad requests. Okay, that seems fine. And this one as well. Okay, anything else? Okay, I think this should be fine. So let's do a .NET build. Perfect, it built successfully. Let us remove this one, we don't really need it. Okay, let's save this. Okay, so now that we have done this for this one, let us update the user controller with the same return types and the same basically error handling. So let us start first with the get users. So in order for us to get the get users, what we're gonna be adding is, here is gonna be returning a list of users. So let us fix this. So let's see exactly what we done here. Basically what we did is we did this. We took one and we put this here. But now it's gonna be a bit different. Why? Because if we think about it, get users list, we're getting all of the users that exist. And right now we're gonna return everything, but it's good implementation that we utilize the page results that we had before instead of using the results, because it's gonna be a list and we might need to implement pagination. So for now, instead of result, we're gonna put paged result, and we'll fix this. And basically here we see the users is a list of users, so we need to update this to a list of users. Actually, it will automatically make it in a list. Apologies. So once we have done that, all we need to do is return result. And let's try it out. So let us run the application. So .NET run. Okay, perfect. Now if we go to our Insomnia, and basically let us get a new JWT token. Okay, let's copy this one. Copy. Okay, I think I copied it all. Let's go to get all users. Let us update the header, so it should be authorization. And we'll put bearer, and we'll paste this here. And now if I send this, we should receive, so it's not returning back. Why? Let's see. Is success true? Content is null. Why is the content null? Let's see. Because I didn't specify it. Apologies. So result dot content equal users. And why is it so? Content here will accept list, and this is going to be an enumerable, so let's point it to list. And let's do this as well. So result.count equal users.count. Okay. Now let's stop this and run it again. Again, apologies. Okay, let's go back to Insomnia and let's run this. Perfect. Now we see the page 0. We have the result count equal to 10. We have the result per page. We did not specify anything right now, and we have all of the content here. And then at the end, we can see that we have sticks as it's true, error equal to null, and then we have the response time from the server. Okay, perfect. So now this is working. Now let us update this one here. So this one is going to require a lot of work because we need to implement, on top of this, we need to implement the AutoMapper. So we're going to pause this for now. We're going to update the get user, and then we're going to, once we add the AutoMapper, we're going to update this one here so it will take benefit, so it will have the benefit of AutoMapper as well as the return type, or basically the objects type that you want to embed the response into. But actually, let's do it right now, and then once we add AutoMapper, we'll update it. Okay, let us first let us update the get user, and then we'll update. So a get user is going to return as one single user. So it's going to be var result equal new result of type user, and basically that's it. And basically here we're going to put result dot content equal user, and that's it. We're going to return, so we're going to add just a validation. So if user not equal to null, this is going to be the response. But if the user, okay, let's put this outside so we can actually reuse this component or this object. So, but if the user is equal to null, what we need to do is return an error. So it's going to be result dot error equal to what was it in the base controller? What's the method name? Populate error. And basically the code here is going to be not found, so 404 because the user is not found. And the error message is we're going to put user not found, and the type is we can put invalid identifier, or that's too much information. The error type is, okay, let us think about the error type a bit more. So profile, so user not found is going to be in both of them. So here profile, and it's going to be users. This one, let's make it capital. And so bad request, unable to process, we can make it public static string, and we can make it invalid invalid request. Yeah, I think that should be fine. Invalid request, if I can type. Okay, I think that should be fine. Let us fix here the capital P. We need to make it capital. Okay, anything anywhere else here? Anywhere else? Nope, that should be fine. Unless there is, I'm missing. Still complaining. Oh, okay, so we have this P here and this P here. Okay, that should be fine. Now let's fix this one here. So this one is gonna be more of a error messages. Let us fix the reference. And it's gonna be dot users dot user not found, and here it's gonna be error messages dot generic dot invalid requests unable to process. Okay. Or we can make it not found. Let us think about this for a bit. Result. So what we need to do finally is just return the result. So return bad request, and we're gonna return the result with it. Okay. Okay, I see here. Maybe what we can do is let's put it not found, and give me your opinion in the comments down below if you think I should change it or not. So bad request. Let's add a new one. Item not found. So item not found. Or object not found. Object, yeah, better than item. Object not found. Okay, let's copy this. Save. Let's go back to the users and okay, object not found. Nope, here, object not found. Okay. So that should be fine. That should be fine. Okay. I think we got everything that we want except this one here. And the accounts controller we're not gonna be touching right now. We're gonna do a proper refactoring for this, but I think for now we have already covered these new return types, which is create a result and page result. So the next step is for today we're gonna be adding AutoMapper. We're gonna be updating the all of the endpoints, basically the profile as well as the users, and based on that, and maybe also the accounts, and based on that we're gonna re-update those return types, the results and page results, so we take full advantage of the AutoMapper, and as well maybe just create a new table in the database. So let's get started with AutoMapper. So first let's start by adding our NuGet packages. So we're gonna be utilizing the .NET add keywords. So inside our terminal it's gonna be .NET add package AutoMapper. So this should take a few seconds. Okay, perfect. Now we need to add another package, which is called, also utilizing the .NET add keyword, .NET add package AutoMapper .extensions .microsoft .dependency injection. Okay, let's hope I tapped this correctly. Perfect. Now let's check our CS proj, and we should be able to see our AutoMapper and our dependency injection. Perfect. So once we have added that, the next step is we need to update our startup class to take advantage of AutoMapper. But because we don't have a startup class in .NET 6, we need to update our program class. So let's go to the program class, and let's choose a place before we actually build it. So I think maybe after the Swagger, that should be fine. Yeah, here it should be fine. So let's do it. So it's gonna be builder .services .add AutoMapper, and then we're gonna just specify the app domain .current domain .get assembly. Okay, I think we need using system. I think that's gonna be it. Yep. And once this is added, let us save this and let us get assembly. I think assemblies, it should be an S. Okay. Yeah. So now let's build this to make sure that it's right and it should be. So dotnet build. Okay, perfect. So now that we have added the main two things, which is first the NuGet packages, and we added the configuration for our AutoMapper inside our program.cs, now it's time for us to actually add the profiles. And basically the profiles are, it's like a map of what do we want to map together. So what are the two classes that we want to map? So we want to, for example, map a user with a user DTO. We want to map a user DTO to a user class. So those classes basically need somewhere to live inside our application, where it actually tells AutoMapper to which field to another field it needs to match. So for example, first name to first name, last name to last name between the user DTO and the user. So these needs to be mapped somewhere, and AutoMapper needs to know about them. And we need to inherit from a certain class that AutoMapper provides. So let's see how we can do this right now. So inside our root folder, let us create a new folder. Inside the let's create a new folder. We'll call it profiles, because every mapping that we're gonna be doing to AutoMapper, it's gonna be based on a certain profile, and that basic class that we're gonna be class that we're gonna be inheriting from AutoMapper is called the profiles. So inside the profiles folder, let's create a new class, and the first thing we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be adding a profile for the user. So right now, whenever we want to, for example, add a new user, instead of directly, so let's take a look. Let's add first the profile and then we can explain. So user profile, and that should be it. Okay, so let us go to the users class and let's take a look at this add user action. So we can see here that we're getting the user DTO. And basically what we're doing is manually we are actually adding all of this information for this new user. We don't want that. What we want to do is we want to create some kind of an AutoMapper configuration where all of the requests which is coming in from the user DTO, it will automatically map to a user class by itself. With a single line, it will be able to do that. So whenever we are reutilizing this functionality anywhere, here we can actually directly implement it. So let's see how we can do this. So first of all, let's go back to our user profile class. And the first thing that we need to do, which is really, really important, is we need to inherit from the profile class. And this profile class is provided for us by AutoMapper. So if we take a look at the using statement, we can see using AutoMapper. So once we have done that, the next step is we need to actually specify the constructor of the class. So it's going to be public. Actually, we can use ctor. And basically it has created a constructor for us, and we don't need any parameters. So inside right now, so the first thing what we did is we have created a user profile class, which is a normal class. So in order to make it compatible with AutoMapper, we have inherited from the profile class, which is provided for us by AutoMapper. Then we have created the constructor. Now inside the constructor, what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna be specifying the mappings between the two objects that we want. So let's do this as we speak. So how do we create a mapping? So we need to tell AutoMapper that we want to create a map. So create a map, and we need to tell AutoMapper between two objects. So we're going to tell it between the user DTO and the user class. And once we have that, we need to close it. So let's take a look at this. Let's fix this reference. Okay, perfect. So right now, if I hover here, on create map, let us first remove this so we can see what are the parameters before we add this. So let's do this. Okay. Okay. So we can see here that it's actually requiring a T source and a destination. So the source is where the information is coming from, and the destination is where it's going. So what does that mean? So the source here, for example, for us, it's gonna be the DTO, because that's the information that the client is sending to us, and the destination is the actual user class that we're gonna be using in order for us to execute the DB command. So the source is basically the information that's being provided for us from the client, and here in this case the destination is gonna be the user. That's why we put the DTO and the user, something like this. DTO, which is the information that's coming from the user, and user profile is basically, is user profile or is it user? I think it's user. Let us double check. Profile, and if we go to, no, not profile, sorry, to users, it's a user, not user profile. So let's remove this. Yes, it should be user, and let us fix this. Okay, perfect. Now that we have specified the initial configuration here, what we need to do is we need to actually tell AutoMapper what are the fields that we want to map with each other. So we want to, for example, map this first name to this last name or something like that. So we need to specify here the defined mapping that we need. So let's do this as we speak. So after the curly braces and before the semicolon, what we need to do is we need to, I'm gonna put for member. The first thing, let's make this nicer looking, okay. And then we need to put parentheses. And basically the first thing we need to do is we need to specify the destination. So where is this information gonna be stored? So it's gonna be destination.user.dto, but basically first name. And where is it coming from? It's coming from basically the user DTO. So the destination is user, but it's coming from the user DTO. So for this, what we're going to be doing is we're going to put from dot map from, and let's put x dot, let's put it like this, okay, and we'll put x dot first name. Okay, so that way if we'll hover here, we can see that we are setting where is it coming from. So for example, if we look at the X here, you can see it's coming from the user DTO, and if we put the hover here above the destination, we can see that's going to the user. So that's why we're saying basically it's coming from the from our DTO, it's automatically being mapped to the first name that's inside our user. The reason that we're putting here the curly braces right now, the string interpolation, in order for us, for example, let's say every strings that comes in, I want, for example, to add an A for it, or for example, I want to have some kind of, I don't know, I want to do some validation, or I want to add some certain stuff to it based on the name. So I can do with all of this inside this Lambda function. So the reason I'm doing it like this, so we can show you the different implementation and how much powerful this is. So we're going to be doing this for all of the components or all of the members of the user class. And once we have added this and we have implemented it, we're going to actually update the controller so it will actually benefit from it. So first, right now, let us continue adding all of the members of the class. So second one is for member again, and this is going to be for the last name. But later what we can do is just copy this, it makes it easier. And here instead of first name, we're going to put last name. Perfect. Let's see, what else does this provide for us? So let's see the definition. So we have first name, last name, email, phone, date of birth, and country. So let's do this right now. So we have first name, last name. Let's copy this. And we can see here they are all chained. So before we even put the semicolon, we need to put, for example, the first one is going to be dot for member. Once that parenthesis is closed, we need to add another dot for member, so on and so forth. So all of these members needs to be changed together. We cannot create multiple, for example, create map, so on and so forth. It needs to be actually changed together. So after we put this one, the last name, we need to put email. And I think after the email, let's put the phone number. So it's gonna be phone. And now let's do the date of birth, because if we look at the user's controller, we can see for the date of birth, we are actually converting it from a string to a date of birth, to a date time. So that's what we need to do right now. So let's come here and basically, so we're gonna take here the date of birth, and basically what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna put convert dot to date time, and we're gonna be passing the date of birth. And here I think it needs to be using system. So we can see here the power of this. So instead of actually managing the conversion ourselves inside the action where it comes, the information is coming from the DTO, we're actually delegating this to our AutoMapper, so it will do it for us. Okay, so after the date of birth, what we're going to be doing is we need to add the country. So country. Let's take a look at the user's controllers. So we did the first name, last name, email, date of birth, phone, country. The last one is the status. So whatever I want to do to the status is basically any information that's any user which is currently being registered, I want to directly give it the status one, it means it's active. So how can I do that? Again, for member. So because we don't have a status inside my incoming DTO, so I want to like have it my own status. So for now, I want to have it only as 1, which is an integer, and here inside my user class, I want to make it status. Perfect. So now that we have this, let's save this, and let's go back to our user controller. So now that we have done this, the next step for us is to actually update this action inside our user controller so we can take benefit of this. So instead of having all of these lines here, which is basically doing the manual mapping between our DTO and our user class, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be utilizing the AutoMapper here in order for us to directly, with a single line, just utilize this AutoMapper. So that's one thing. Another aspect is we need to actually inject AutoMapper to our controller, and we're not going to inject it directly to the this controller or to the user controllers, profile controller, account controller. What we're going to be doing is we're going to add the AutoMapper injection into our base controller. That way all of those other classes will automatically benefit from it. So let's go back to the user, to the base class, and inside the base class here we're going to be adding the AutoMapper. So it's going to be public. Actually, yeah, let's put it public, and we're going to put it read only iMapper, which is basically referred to the AutoMapper, and we're going to call it mapper. And let us fix those references. Yes, let's save this, and we're going to be adding it here. So we're going to put iMapper mapper, and then as simple as mapper equal mapper. Okay, so now that we have added our iMapper, or basically AutoMapper, to our basic class, it's going to be inherited by the other 3 classes, so we need to update them. And because we have already added all of those configurations first inside our program.cs, which is here, which is this line, where is it? This one, builder.service.AutoMapper. So that way our dependency injection container or DI container will automatically know that it's going to be expecting an AutoMapper. So once we have added the iMapper stuff, the AutoMapper will be able directly to pick it up, and it will be able directly to resolve the dependency and let us utilize it inside our classes. So once we have added it here, let's go to our account controller. Let's go back to our action, to our constructor, and let's add it here. So it's going to be iMapper mapper, and we have to pass it here. So it's going to be something like this. Perfect. Let's fix those references. Okay, so that's the first one. Copy. Now let's go to our profile. Similar thing to what we have done before. Copy this. This is gonna be a mapper. And let's fix those references. save, and we have users controller, which is the one we want to utilize right now. Let's add this, and it's gonna be mapper, and let us fix those references. Perfect. Save. Now let us before, did we save everything? Oh, we did not save this one, we did not save this one. Okay, before we do anything else, let us do a quick build to make sure that everything is building correctly. So .NET build should take a few seconds, and perfect, it's building succeeded. So now let's go back to our user controller, and basically inside our user controller we need to actually get rid of this and have the new way that we're doing it. So let's see how we can do that. So first we need a variable, so we're gonna put a var, and let's call this, for example, underscore mapped user. So now that we have specified the variable, then we need to tap in AutoMapper. So we need to tell mapper, and then what do we want the mapper to do? We want to tell them it needs to map. So map, and then we need to tell it, okay, between what and what do you want to map? Do you want to map what are the two entities that we're going to be utilizing for the mapping? So we're going to tell you need to actually map everything to our user, and your input for this mapping, it's going to be our DTO, so user. As simple as that. So this simple line here that we have basically has replaced all of this. So let's see if this is actually going to work. So let's comment this out, and let's update mapped user, and the, okay, that's here. Let's add a to-do list, add the correct return to this action. Okay, we'll do this after we test it. So now that we have saved this, let us run it. So .NET run. Perfect. Now let's go back to Insomnia. Let's bring this here. And inside our account, we have the register. So this is add user. So let us add a new one here. I'm gonna call it add request, new folder. Oh, we have got all users. So let's add this one here, new request. And we're gonna call it add user. And it's gonna be a post and of type JSON. And click on create. And basically we need to take this one, similar URL. Let's update here to HTTPS and 5001. Let's take this, copy, let's go to add user, let's paste it. And inside the body here, we need to specify our user DTO, or let's open it up. So it has first name, last name, email, phone, date of birth, and country. Okay, so let's start with first name. And first name, yesterday we used, what is the other name that we used? We used Lewis Hamilton, so now let's use Valtteri Bottas. So this is the first name, last name is Bottas, and I think email is gonna be Valtteri@mercedes.com. Okay, let's see what else does this require. So if we go back to so put first name, last name, email, we need to put the phone number, the date of birth, and the country. So let's put the phone number. So Valtteri's phone number, it's gonna be 111-222-333-444. And then we have to put the country. It's Finland. And I think lastly it's gonna be the date of birth. So date of birth and To be honest, I'm not sure, so I'll put 1970-01-01. Okay, great. And I'm sure this one is going to require a JWT token, so let's put the authorization header, and we'll specify a bearer token. And let us get a bearer token. So let's log in. So I think I already know the issue. After reviewing this, I can see that here we have made an error. It should be the opposite. So the destination should always be, let's take this, should be destination.date of birth. Here it should not be a string. Here we should do the conversion. Something like this. And let us save this. And let us run the application again. So I go to terminal. So .net run. Okay, perfect. Now let's go back to Insomnia. And let us try to log in again. Perfect. Now we got the bearer, the JWT token we can utilize. So let's copy this. Okay. And let's go to add user. Let's paste it. Okay. And let's check this again. And let's send this. And as we can see here, we got a 201 created with all of the information that we have sent. And now, if we go back to our Visual Studio Code, we can see that we have trimmed down all of this to a single line. And everything has been automatically done for us through AutoMapper, which is amazing. So, the next step here is let us actually utilize the result return type instead of having it like here. So let's create this one. So far, result equal new result of type, the return type, we're gonna make it as user. And basically we're gonna put result dot content equal user. Okay, so it needs to be here user DTO. That's all we need to do. And instead of sending back direct user, let's send it back the way we want. So let's save this and let us stop the application and run it again. Perfect. Now let's go back to Insomnia. Let's change this one from Valtteri to Lando Norris, and here it's gonna be Lando at McLaren. I think it's an E, I'm not sure. And country is UK. So let's send this, and now we should see a different return type with the actual result return that we have actually created. So let's see. Perfect. Now we can see that we have the content, we have the error, we have the is-success, and we have the is-response time. Great. So now let's continue this by updating the rest of the endpoints. So we have updated the add user. We have updated this one as well. So now let's go to the other one, which is profile. Is there anything here that we want to add? Yes. So what we're going to be adding here is, instead of actually returning the entire result, which is user profile, which is basically the database, from the database exactly, what we can do is we can map it to a specific object that we want to include. Because right now, let us, for example, check this one. What is this one? Here it is update. No, let's check. Let's update this one first. Get profile. So let's go here. Let's take the same token. Let's go to the get profile. Let us just update the token here so it will reflect with the new one. Let's send this. So basically here we see that we have a lot of information that the user doesn't really need to know about. We have the added date, updated date, we have the status, we have the ID, the identity ID. So we have all of this information, which basically the user should not be able to know. So how do we mitigate that? We need to create a DTO, which is specifically for returning the information back. And based on this DTO that we're going to be creating, we're going to utilize AutoMapper to map everything from the main user account back to the DTO. So let's do this right now. So let's go back to Visual Studio Code. And basically what we can do inside the DTO here, so instead of incoming, it's going to be outgoing. And let's create a new folder. And we're going to call this profile. And basically for this profile, what is this called using DTO? Oh, nice. Okay, so inside for this profile, so what we're gonna be actually, let's remove this profile folder, so let's delete it. Yes. So let's us create a new folder. Let's call it profile for now. We can do this changes later on, and inside this class we're gonna call it profile DTO. Simple as that. And inside this profile DTO, basically we're gonna take the same thing as here: first name, last name, email, country, so on and so forth. So let's take this, let's paste this here, and that's it. So what we're gonna be doing right now is we wanna return everything from the user to this profile DTO. If we have a profile, okay, I think that should be fine. Let's go back here to the user's profile, and we need basically to update this one in order for us to map everything back. Or what we can do, because this is going to be a new controller, let's have its own profile. So new class, so let's call it profile. Can't call it profile, so let's call it user profile. Already have user profile. See, naming is usually the hardest thing. So let us call it profile CTR controller profile. That way we'll know exactly which one we're mapping to. Or we don't need to create one. Let's utilize the user profile here. So let us just take this and let's go all the way down. Let's create a new one. And basically here, what do we want to do? We want to map everything which is coming from user to our new profile that we have, which is basically gonna be profile DTO. Let's fix those references. Perfect. And now let's save this. So as we did before, we need to do it. So the dot for member, and we need to specify them. So the destination is dot, let's start with the country, and it's gonna be from dot map from x, and just make it a string x dot country. Perfect. So that's the country one. Now let's continue. Dot from member, it's gonna be destination dot, we already had country, so now date of birth. Let's return it as string. We don't need to do anything. So from dot map from x, and let's keep it as a string. So we're just gonna put destination, actually it's gonna be from date of birth, or x dot date of birth. Still a bit early. Okay, so now that we have done that, the next step is gonna be dot from member. It's gonna be as well destination dot email, and it's gonna be from dot map from, and it's gonna be x, and we're gonna just make it as well string concatenation, and we're just gonna put x dot email. Perfect. Dot from, again, dot, we already put email, now first name, so we're gonna put from dot map from x dot first name. Let's just copy this, it's a bit faster, so copy this one. So this is gonna be last name, and then we're gonna have, I think phone was the last one. Yep, phone. So let's add the phone one, and we'll add the phone one. So basically what we did here is, because we have two different mappings for the same user profile that we want to do, and basically because they belong to the same user, what we did is we can create multiple mapping inside the constructor. So it's not only limited to one. The flexibility that it gives us is that we can actually create as many mappings as we want for that user inside the same profile. So that's what we did here. We basically mapped everything from the user that we want to the profile DTO, similar to what we have done before, from the DTO to the user. So let's save this. Let's go back to the profile. And here, once we actually want to return back to the profile, we don't want to return directly the profile. So we can utilize the mapper. So var mapped profile equal underscore mapper dot map, and basically we need to specify what is it. So it's going to be profile DTO, and basically what is it going to take? It's going to take profile. And now we need to fix those references. Save, and let's put this here, and let's fix this here. And now let's see if this works. So let's stop this. Okay, why is this not happy? Okay, because we specified that this is going to be the type, so let's fix this. Instead of returning a result type of user, it's going to be a profile DTO. Now this should be happy. Perfect. Now let's run it. Excellent, it's running. Now let's go back to our insomnia, and basically let us just execute this again, and we should see here the difference in the content, that we're only gonna returning the profile DTO that we have just created. So send 401, that's fine. Let us get a new JWT token. Copy. Get profile, let's update the bearer token, let's delete it, and let's paste this, and let's send this, and we can see here that we got a much more precise and much more neater output by having only first name, last name, email, phone, date of birth, as well as the country. Great. So let's just do one more thing. So instead of having it like this, the date of birth, let us just to add some string management. So let's go into the profile again. Where is it? Here. And instead of returning it like this, so let's put dot to short date to, oh, this is not it, so we have to go down. So here we'll just put dot to short date time, short date. That's it. So now we should see it much more neater. So let's stop this. And right now, once we execute that one, we should not see the time, we should only see the date. Let's go back here. So here we should not see the date anymore. Perfect, we only see day, month here. Perfect. Okay, great. Now, once we have done that, let us continue with the controller, and let's continue the update that we have within the controller. So let's stop this. And let's go back to our profile. So we already updated this one here. There's nothing to update here, which is fine. Now let's do the same thing for the updated profile. So instead of actually returning the entire thing, so we need to just make it, instead of user, we need to make it profile DTO. And instead of returning the fully updated profile, what we're going to be doing here is we're just going to do the mapping. So it's going to be user profile, and we're going to return the mapped profile. Great. And so I think this is it for this controller. Now let's check the users one. Anything we need to do here? Here we're just returning the user. Okay, so again, I don't want to return everything, so let's update the same thing here. Instead of returning a full user, we're just going to return the profile DTO. Let's fix this one. And we can just paste this information here inside. Map the profile. So let's go back to our profile controller and just copy paste it faster. So copy. Let's come here, and instead of returning this one, it's going to be user, and we're going to give it back the mapped profile, as simple as that. Okay, anything else, anywhere else we need to update? So this one we already did. We don't really need to have this to-do list anymore. I think the last thing is we can update the accounts controller, but I think updating the accounts controller now it's gonna change because we're planning to introduce more stuff. So let's keep it as is for this moment in time. And okay, let's keep this like this. And I think let us go back to our web browser. And basically, so let's see what this ticket was. So basically it says here, create 2 classes to cater for all return possibilities. So we did that. So let's put this into the done. Generate a generic error message class, which is, we already done this as well. And let's see, where is the AutoMapper one? Add AutoMapper to the application. We already did this one, and it should be now completed. Define the structure of our health record. Create a controller for our health record. Add a generic error handler to verify. Okay, this one we might do later. I think right now what we can do, we can create just a new class, which basically gonna be responsible to handle this person's a bit of more. So we want to do a separation between the actual user and their data, medical data. We can put it all there as a starting point, but I think if we start breaking out from the beginning, that will be better. So I think what we're going to be doing is we're going to have a user class, which is going to contain all of the user information that we have. Then we're going to have a much more specialized table which contain the user information. Like, for example, we want to add the height, the weight, the blood type. And for example, we can add height, weight, blood type, and we can add anything else I think we should add as a base information. We can say height, weight. Okay, let's just do this for now, and we can, while we're doing it, if we think of something else, we can just update it. So database, update the unit of work, that should be fine. So let's update this, and we're gonna say this new class will contain the following. So we're gonna say it's gonna contain height, weight, blood type, and I think race, and what else can we put that could affect our medical, and we can say if they have glasses or not, because that's really important. And I think that should be fine. So let's create this right now. So let's put this inside our in progress, because it is in progress. And let's go back to our Visual Studio Code. And basically what we're gonna be doing here is inside our DB set, we're gonna create a new class. And this class, we're gonna be calling it basic health. No, we're gonna call it user health data. We're gonna call it health data. Health characteristic, no, health data. Okay, it was not the user one. So health data. And basically what we're gonna be doing is similar to what we have done here. So we're gonna take back from the user entity, and then we're gonna add the rest of the information. So we're gonna directly inherit from base entity. And let's see what the information that we requested here. We have 4, so let's copy 5 actually. So let's copy this. And let us just put them here, and we can put them in, comment them out, so that way you exactly know. Okay, so first one's gonna be a property of decimal, and we're gonna put the height, and then another property, decimal, we're gonna put the weight, another one, property, this is gonna be a string, which is gonna be blood type. So maybe here what we can do later on is we can actually specify a drop down list for the different blood types, but for now we're gonna keep it a string, but let us keep it here. To do, make this an enum, make this information based on enum, because there's only certain number limit of blood type. So then we're gonna go to property, string is gonna be the race, and then lastly we're gonna put property boolean glasses, needy glasses, or use glasses better, use glasses. Okay, so all of these are here, and I think let's create this for now, and then we can see how we can link those information with the user's table. So let's go back to our data service. So cd صحة entity data service, and basically we're going to utilize the .NET EF. I'm not sure if I have that installed because basically I resetted my machine. So let's go here and .NET EF tool. Okay, so we need to install it. Yeah, this one. So let's copy this one. Let's go to our terminal and let's just install it. Perfect. Now we can actually utilize it. So it's going to be .NET EF migrations add. We're going to call this adding health data table, and we're going to specify the startup project, which is going to be our صحة notebook .api. Oh, we forgot to add it. Okay, we forgot to add it. So let's go back to our, let's copy this one. Let's go to our DB context inside our data service. So let's add it here. So it's gonna be public virtual dbsat, not DB context, dbsat, and we're gonna call it health data. Okay, get and set. Let's save this. Okay, cd. Just .NET build, will this work? We need this to work. Okay. Okay. So .NET. Let's see if we can just utilize. So .NET EF migrations add. Let's see this one. Unable to retrieve project metadata. SSD style. Why? Let us check this one. Yep. Oh, okay, I know the issue. So صحة notebook needs to be / صحة notebook. API. That's the issue. Wrong path. So now it started to build. Perfect. We have created a new migration. Now, once we have created the migration, as we always do, we need to actually update the database with that migration. So .NET EF database update startup dash project. It's gonna be notebook.api, and this should take a few seconds. And once that's done, we should have a new table in our database. Perfect. Great. So once we have done that, let us just create some of the unit of works for this, and then we'll do a quick summary, and we'll continue on this task later on. So let us go here to the I configuration. We can see that we have it right here, I repository. That's where we want it to be. So let's create a new class. Actually, let's create a new interface, because we need an interface, and we're gonna call it I user I health data repository. Okay. So let's copy one, because I'm not sure why it's not creating the file. So copy paste, and we'll change the name. So it's gonna be I health data repository, and let's change this one. So it's gonna be health data. Copy this, we don't need these, and let us paste it here. Perfect. Now we need to do the same thing for the repository. So let's copy this one, paste it, and let's rename it. Okay, let's delete this one, and it's gonna be health data. And basically here we need to update this one. So instead of user, it's gonna be health data. And let us do the replacing for all. Perfect. So first thing first, so I health data. Okay, so we need to remove the S. And let's continue. So that should be fine. Okay, so here it shouldn't have an S. That should not have an S. Okay, that should be fine. Health data. This we need to update. So let's update it now. So it's gonna be blood type equal health data dot blood type dot height equal health data dot height dot race equal health data dot race, and I think the last one was weight equal health. Oh, there's the classes as well. Existing health data dot use classes equal health data dot use classes. Okay, great. So now we have done this. Let us remove the S from here. We don't really need this here. We're not using this. Okay. Let's save this. I think that should be fine. Update health. We don't really need this as well. Well, update health data. Okay, let's remove this one. We're gonna change this later on, so don't worry about it. But let us just keep it consistent. So let us remove this one here so it doesn't freak out. Okay, let's save this one. Okay. Once we have done that, now let us update our generic repository here. So this one's gonna be I health data repository. We're gonna call it health data. It's gonna be a get. Thank you very much. And then once we have done that, we need to update our unit of work, of course. So let's copy this and we'll just change it. So this here is gonna be I health data repository, and it's going to be called health data. And here we just need to update this one, so it's going to be health data equal new health data repository. We're going to pass the context as always, and we're going to pass the underscore logger. Perfect. Let us just build, make sure everything is building. So let's go back to our Saha notebook.api and let's do .NET build. And once that is built, we make sure that everything is running. Perfect. Now let's do .NET run. Perfect. Now let's go actually to our Insomnia and just run a login. Or if this one, if the token is still valid. No, it's not valid. Let's do a login. Perfect. Let's get a copy this one. Let's go to profile. And we should be able to, if everything is still working as it should, we should be able to see this user profile for Sir Lewis. And perfect, we got the information that we need. Okay, great. So let us do right now a quick summary of what we have covered already. So let's go back to Visual Studio Code. So the first thing that we did today is we have basically created return types, one for a single result and one for a list. So let's check them out. So inside our, where did we add them? dbsat, nope. So we added them inside our configuration. Nope, not configuration again. Where did we add them? Yeah, inside our DTOs, and we have a generic, and then there we have added them inside the result. So we have created the first one for a single item of type T, which makes it generic, so we can pass any type of return that we want to it. And similarly, we have created one for the page result, so we inherited from the result class that we created earlier. We made it into a list of T, and then basically we built it from there. So once we have done that, we went to the controllers and we have basically updated our controllers so they will take full benefits of this. So instead of returning the full object, we are returning them back into this concise type of return type. So if you can see here, the return type that we are creating is basically based on that result, and we're returning the DTOs instead of returning the entire class. But how are we mapping the entire object with a DTO? That's where AutoMapper came in. So the first thing that we did is we have installed all of the dependencies. Once we have installed all of the dependencies, we went to the program.cs. So let's go to the program.cs. And basically here we have injected our AutoMapper into our DI container, which is a dependency injection container. Once we have added into the dependency injection container, we needed to actually utilize it. So we went to the base controller. Inside the base controller, we have injected it into the constructor. So we can see here that we have the IMapper, and then we have utilized it. Because we have added to the base controller, we need to update the 3 controller that is actually utilizing it, which is accounts, profile, and users. Similarly, if we go all the way up to the constructor, we can see here that we have injected the IMapper here, and then we pass it to the base controller. So once we have done that, now it has been time for us to utilize it. So how did we utilize it? First of all, we tested it out with the user class, and basically once we are trying to add a user, instead of manually mapping the DTOs to the user entity, so what we're doing is we are utilizing AutoMapper. So sorry, before that what we did is we created the profiles. So we created a new folder in the root directory called profiles, and inside that profiles we create a new class called users profile. And we can see here that basically what we did, we mapped a user DTO to a user, and basically we specified for every single member of those 2 objects what are they going to be mapped from. So first name, last name, date of birth to date of birth. So we had an issue with date of birth because we switched them over, but now that we have fixed them, we can see that we need to convert it to date time, and based on that it will work, and so on and so forth. So again, we added another mapping between a user and a profile DTO. So instead of returning the full entity from the database, we are mapping it to a much more concise and much more specific information that we want to send back and share with the user. So that's why we mapped it to a DTO. As well, what we did here is we, instead of returning the full date time, so we're just now returning the date exactly. and we mapped the rest of the entities. So once we have done that, let's go back to our users controller. We can see here that we just, with a single line, we were able to do all of the mappings that we want. So we mapped the user to user DTO to a user, here to create one, and to basically get the user back, we mapped the actual entity to a profile DTO and we're returning it back to the user. Similarly, we did the same thing with the profile controller. Once we have done all of that, we decided that we're going to create a new class. So we went into the Saha notebook entity. Inside the DB set, we can see that we have a new class called health data, which is going to contain all of the health data for the users that we have. And basically we specified some of the information that we want to track at first, which is the health, the weight, the blood type, race, and if they're using glasses or not. So once we have done that, we have updated our application DB context. So we went to our Saha notebook data service. Inside the data, we have app DB context. We have added the health data record here. Once we have added that, we were able to add the migrations as well. We were able to create the update the database through that migrations. Once those were done and checked, we started actually creating the repositories. So we went to our iRepository. We created the iHealth data repository, which is very simple. And then we went to the repository folder. We added the implementation for this one. And again, very simple. And once these two interface and a class has been created, we actually configured the unit of work to actually utilize it. And we can see here it's actually being utilized and being initialized with a context and a logger. Great. So as a summary, we have created a unified return type, one for an object, one for a list. And then as well, we have created, we utilize AutoMapper to map different objects together, and we create a new class. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you liked this video today. Please like, share, and subscribe if you like this video. It will really help the channel. If you have any questions, please post them down in the comments down below. And we're gonna be adding more features to this application as we go. Again, thanks again for watching. Have a great day.